command structure, standard FEMA protocol.
Sorting through that in the fog of war, it can be very difficult, because it's the very time when it's the hardest to do that, to be able to say, hey, whoa, slow down here, let's work through this. They don't want to hear that. The state's left with the difficult task of trying to figure out, well, what is it that we can do to meet that need versus what we're going to go and ask the federal government to provide.
Katrina knocks out most communication systems. Phones are out. TV and radio stations cannot broadcast. Even satellite communication is unreliable.
It made the first responders victims.
A three-star Army General Russell Honore will receive orders later today to oversee the military response to Hurricane Katrina.
And when the first responders become victims, they have a challenge in communicating and coordinating.
The worst blow from Hurricane Katrina is about to hit New Orleans. Her eye is now northeast of the city. As her winds swirl counterclockwise, she pushes a colossal storm surge up and over the levees here on the south side of Lake Pontchartrain.
Storm turns this way. It pushed all that water back in this direction, forcing it into these canals, into the intercoastal waterway.
Floodwaters race into both the 17th Street and London Avenue canals. The levee walls here along the London Avenue Canal start to creak and bend outward. Then near the Mirabeau Avenue Bridge, the walls on the east side of this canal collapse. Floodwaters cascade into the city. 10:30 a.m. The levee wall along the west side of the London Avenue Canal now fails. So does the eastern levee on the 17th Street Canal near the old Hammond Highway Bridge. That breach sends floodwaters into the western portion of Orleans Parish. The average home in New Orleans is drowning in 6 to 9 feet of standing water.
Everything was damaged. I didn't see one thing that was not damaged. One house, one business. I particularly noticed that almost every roof was damaged. And I knew at that point we had a big problem.
Rescuers are now heading out into the floodwaters. Among them, New Orleans police officers Dwayne and Daryl Sherman.
We started receiving reports, and there was just hundreds and hundreds of people stranded in attics and on roofs.
New Orleans Times-Picayune photographer Alex Brandon joins the Sherman brothers and documents the search and rescue mission.
We decided at that point to make our way down. We had to take a chainsaw and the entire SWAT team to clear a path because of all the oak trees that were down.
There's already people inside in their attics yelling for help.
At that point, you're saying to yourself, and you're looking at what you know when you used to patrol as the lower 9th Ward was now a lake. It just so happened it was full of houses. And you said, this is going to be bad. We pulled up to a roof to rescue a young man, and he waved us off and said, look, I'm fine, but there's some old people in that house right there. And as we pulled up, there was an elderly couple. I would guess they were probably in their 70s in a single-story dwelling.
Throughout the day, the Shermans, along with Brandon, go from house to house to rescue the young, the old, and the poor.
I'd take a picture and then I'd set the camera down and I'd help the person in the boat. I'd take a picture, I'd set the camera down and help the person in the boat. These poor people, their strength is gone.
Gratitude is immediate. At one point, Brandon photographs entertainer Fats Domino moments after his rescue from his house. General Honore regards Katrina as a worthy adversary.
What this storm did was a classic military operation. The storm gathered strength, attacked the coast of Louisiana and Mississippi with overwhelming force. One of the things that a military attack you'd want to do is to cut the enemy's ability to communicate. It took out all cell phone and regular phone services. The other thing this storm did is it cut the road network.
It's totally flooded out down there.
As this storm moved north, it protected its left flank by leaving a flood.
Yeah, it's up. This whole place is going underwater.
Again, classic military attack. Take the enemy's eyes out. Take his ears out. Then fix him so he can't maneuver.
Katrina has declared war on the Gulf Coast. She is winning handily.
Downtown New Orleans is thrashed.
1 p.m. At this moment, NPR reaches one of its reporters, John Burnett, at his hotel room in New Orleans. Burnett and many other journalists are unaware of the levee breaks.
It was the best eventuality of the worst possible scenario. They dodged the bullet, but they still got a sound bruising.
The media were what people relied on back in Washington to get a picture of what was going on there. And when the report was that everything looked okay on Monday afternoon, that's the impression that was conveyed back in Washington.
To the east, once Katrina passes, the damage is shocking. Off the coast of Mobile, Alabama, Katrina has rattled this oil platform from its mooring. Biloxi, Mississippi, a 911 dispatcher is talking to a hurricane victim.
We're going to get you out of there. You need to calm down now.
Like they're drowned in my house. My house is totally gone.
The floating gambling barges in Biloxi and Gulfport have taken a direct hit. Katrina hurled the Grand Casino in Gulfport 150 yards onto US 90. The region's gambling industry is out of luck. So are many homeowners.
We lost everything. I don't even know if my kids are alive, man.
I couldn't believe my eyes. Everything was gone. People were just coming out of their homes and the dazed look on their faces. Their neighbors, in many cases, were just gone.
Monday afternoon, nature's fury and the politics of disaster are on a collision course. Baton Rouge, Louisiana. FEMA Director Michael Brown reports back to both Homeland Security and the White House. The scope of the natural disaster is unprecedented. Relief efforts in New Orleans are uncoordinated. Brown has concluded that Louisiana is incapable of handling the crisis. As night falls, some survivors wade through the brackish water as corpses float by. This evening, an ABC News correspondent on the scene in New Orleans reports that the levees have only overtopped, not broken. It was simply the volume of rain that left many areas underwater, he says. This was not the apocalyptic hurricane that many had feared. Just how wrong such reports are will become abundantly clear over the next 24 hours. Tuesday, August 30th, 2005. As the morning sun illuminates the shattered Gulf Coast, early risers in other parts of the country are greeted with surprisingly good news. A New York Times headline is one of many reports expressing relief. Escaping feared knockout punch barely, it says, New Orleans is one lucky big mess. Here's the real scene Tuesday morning in New Orleans. Floodwaters cover 80% of the greater New Orleans area. In the city alone, Katrina has destroyed at least 200,000 homes. Survivors navigate through the city on top of a mattress, in a tub, or on a crude raft. Cars, houses, street signs are all submerged in a muddy brown layer of water, gas, sewage, and chemicals. Thousands of desperate residents are trapped in their homes, chased by the rising waters into attics, breaking through to their rooftops. They wait and pray for help. A depleted police force struggles to come to the city's aid. Police will later report that 249 officers deserted their posts during the hurricane.
You know, they left us at the most critical time in the city. It hurt us bad. It really did.
And yet, rescue missions are in full swing. Leading the charge, the U.S. Coast Guard, National Guard units, FEMA search and rescue teams, and the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries. Even in the midst of a communications blackout, they pluck the stranded off rooftops and motor up to their flooded homes. The floodwaters are still coming in. San Diego, 9 a.m. Pacific Time. President Bush sticks to his previously scheduled agenda. He arrives in California from Texas and gives a speech at the Coronado Naval Air Station commemorating the 60th anniversary of the end of World War II. After the speech, a White House spokesman announces that the president is cutting short his vacation and flying back to Washington tomorrow to deal with Hurricane Katrina. New Orleans. Mayor Ray Nagin manages local relief efforts from his command post on the 27th floor of the downtown Hyatt Hotel. In the first 24 hours after the disaster, response time is critical. But officials at the local, state, and federal levels have yet to get a clear picture of the situation. Chaos in the streets is matched by chaos in government.
I don't think there was a system for them to push the SOS button, you know, from the state, the city, state, local level that said, we've got a big problem here.
As rescue workers save people from the floodwaters in 90-degree heat, they bring them here to the Superdome. The stadium is now an island amid the floodwaters. Trucks with fresh supplies of food, water, and medicine cannot approach the building. The crowd inside swells to 20,000 and spills outside as well. Many have now been here for 3 days. Conditions deteriorate by the hour. Toilets back up and overflow. The smell of sewage, sweat, and filth is everywhere. A similar situation is developing 1.5 miles away here at the New Orleans Convention Center. The city never planned to use it as an official place of refuge, but today it's becoming a spontaneous shelter for about 25,000 evacuees, including tourists whose hotels were flooded out. There are no emergency supplies in the building, no food, no water, no medicine. Both the Louisiana National Guard and FEMA will later acknowledge that at this point on Tuesday, they were unaware that people were taking shelter here.
My mother and my sister has diabetes real bad, so I just wanted them to be safe.
Hundreds of other people are stranded on bridges and roadways around New Orleans, without food, water, or shelter. Many will remain exposed to the elements for days to come.
It's just disgusting and frustrating, and we are human beings, and they're treating us like we're criminals.
Throughout the city, chaos reigns. Looters shatter store windows. They cart off everything from food to entire display cases. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, meantime, tries to repair the break at the 17th Street Canal flood wall. They fly in sandbags via helicopter and drop them onto the break. It doesn't work. The bags are too small. The floodwaters carry them off. And New Orleans keeps filling with water. The levees and canal walls, once the city's great protector, now trap the floodwaters inside the city. New Orleans has an extensive pump system to send the floodwaters into Lake Pontchartrain and the Mississippi River, but most are either broken or choked with debris.
If this city dies, it's really going to be the things that happen after Katrina.
Tuesday night, 10:15 p.m. Governor Kathleen Blanco calls for the full evacuation of the Superdome. With the area around the stadium flooded, transportation will be a slow process. The plan is for buses to carry 20,000 people to the Houston Astrodome and other shelters.
We will help! We will help! Help us!
Night falls on this second day after Katrina. Tens of thousands of people remain trapped in New Orleans, some on the streets without basic necessities, others in the Superdome and Convention Center. Wednesday will bring full-out chaos, including wild rumors of widespread murder and gang rape. And in a country accustomed to watching its troops swoop into foreign terrain and deliver aid, seemingly at a moment's notice, people are beginning to wonder what's going wrong. Wednesday, August 31st, 2005. "48 hours since Hurricane Katrina slammed into the Gulf Coast. In a typical hurricane, relief efforts might already be under control, but the scale of this disaster is unprecedented. New Orleans. According to FEMA, floodwaters keep its supply trucks from entering the city. FEMA will also later report that over the next several days, it has trouble communicating with local and state officials and, quote, doesn't know where critical help is needed, unquote. In the Superdome, 20,000 evacuees now wait for buses to take them to Houston.
When the tsunami happened, when the hurricane was going on in Florida, they ran over there to help us. Here we in our own town, and they will not give us nothing.
10:40 a.m. President Bush takes off on Air Force One, headed back to Washington. He asks the pilot to fly low over the hurricane zone. Down below, tens of thousands of people pack shelters across 3 states, all hoping to return home quickly. Many do whatever it takes to get by. Mobile, Alabama. Survivors are salvaging whatever they can, picking through what was once this family's living room. In New Orleans, there's still no electricity. Survivors bake in the sweltering 90-degree heat.
No water, no food. We got babies out here, we got handicapped people.
Been out here all day. Yeah, people dying in the
We're
building.
starving out here.
We got people that...
General Russell Honore has now arrived in New Orleans to head up U.S. military efforts. The general leaps into action.
And I give the president some credit on this.
Mayor Ray Nagin tells a radio interviewer that he's pleased with Honore's deployment.
He sent one John Wayne dude down here that can get some stuff done. And his name is General Honore. And he came off the doggone chopper. And he started cussing and people started moving.
General Honore regards the crisis here in New Orleans as much more challenging than the one in Mississippi.
The big difference is Mississippi didn't have standing water. It didn't have calms, it didn't have roads, but the water went back to sea. In the case of New Orleans, it created this big tub of water right in the city.
Relief efforts are still in disarray. Mayor Nagin predicts the death toll in New Orleans alone will be in the thousands. Over the next 2 days, Louisiana officials begin predicting 10,000 dead. Helicopters carry wounded and sick evacuees here to Louis Armstrong Airport, which is fast becoming a makeshift hospital.
I've never seen anything like this before. Everyone's doing the best that they can.
We need insulin.
As the